Yeah, that's right. Not only can we do 1 year later videos on things that actually happened, but we can do 1 year later videos on things that did not happen and things that were so outrageous that when you think about them with hindsight, you start to really thank your lucky stars that certain people that say these things in the media are not in charge of your favorite hockey team. What I wanted to do was give a big shout out to a brand new account on Twitter. Not sponsored, not affiliated, not anything. This is an amazing Twitter account. Here it is, it's at Habs Takes Exposed, and their display name is Bad Habs Takes Exposed. As you could probably tell from what this account entails, what they do is they go out there and they republish old takes about the Montreal Canadiens with hindsight included. And it's absolutely hilarious. They don't even, describe any of the things that they post. They just post the thing with the hashtag GoHabsGo, and you can see just how funny it is some of these older takes really are. And I had the brilliant idea to use some of this material, of course, via Bad Habs Takes Exposed on Twitter, to kind of illuminate where we were in our timeline as Habs fans at different parts of their entire progression. So, without further ado, let's go over to the video that started this entire thing off. It's a video titled this, Go Habs Go, Trade Proposal. So, the take is included in this video, it will be linked in the description, and you can see from the BPM Sports clip that is included here, you've got Norman Flynn making an appearance on BPM Sports Radio. And the quote that's written out in the video says that I wouldn't have a difficult time giving Juraj Slafkovsky for Pierre-Luc Dubois. Now, when was this said? Well, according to some of the replies in this tweet, it's apparent that this entire segment where Norman Flynn said this was about from a year ago. And the even crazier part is, the entire audio clip is in French, so if you are in Quebec, then you probably understand this. If you're in BC like me and you only learned French for 5 years in high school, this is above your head. But, to help us out, there actually was a reply from Ronnie Sayers, who goes out there and asks a freaking AI dub bot to translate this video from French into English, and I'm gonna be honest, it does a pretty good job. You can listen to the video clip translated with the AI voice into English, and everything is legible. In fact, I took the time to transcribe what it was that was said. Here is the quote from the AI French to English robot that transcribes a Norman Flynn radio hit from BPM Sports from about a year ago. If he would absolutely wanted to have Slafkovsky, I would be willing to do it. I would take that risk. It's sure that Slafkovsky could be good. I told you he was full of talent, and it showed when he was having it. In any case, I saw a lot of good things in him. But to get a good player like Pierre-Luc Dubois, you have to pay. You have to give something good. And it's obvious. If you think the guy coming is going to help you, he's going to be in the top 6. He's already in the top 6. The other one, we agree Slafkovsky will probably go light, but if you ask Slafkovsky to get out of the woods, I would be willing to do it a little. And is that just not the craziest radio hit, the craziest idea that we may not have even seen a year ago, just because it was on French radio? I'll admit there are a lot of things said on French Montreal Canadiens sports talk radio that just does not get reported about in English. You'll have the articles written and they have normally text translations where you could see, this Canadiens player is on the block and they want to trade for this guy. But radio hits, the audio transcriptions, this rarely gets posted anywhere. So the fact that this French clip of Norman Flynn expressing his willingness to trade Slafkovsky for Pierre-Luc Dubois, of all people, the replies go out there and say some pretty funny things. The first reply here from Denis Kuka asks, hey, can somebody translate this into English? And the top reply says, hey, be happy you don't understand. Oh my goodness, that is hilarious, dude. Now, there is a little bit of a conversation as to when the timeline was that this was said. Olivier Boitel goes out there and asks, when did he say this? Because last year, when Slafkovsky was showing very little and Dubois was on fire, I would have been okay with him saying that. But there are some replies saying, hey, first, he never mentioned the Kings in the audio hit, and he's not working with that radio station anymore, so I'm pretty sure it was last year. Then there's another reply saying, wait, he's talking about the Kings, so maybe he's talking about it from this year. This is kind of a nutty idea, and no matter if you're talking about this from the Winnipeg perspective or the LA perspective, with hindsight included, there's a reason this take was included on the Bad Habs Takes Exposed Twitter account. Pierre-Luc Dubois right now is absolutely tanking. He's at 19 points in 42 games played, on pace for 38 points. And sure, he was really good last year, 63 points in 73 games played. It's why he got the big deal, $8.5 million a year. But now, PLD is playing on the fourth line some nights. It's pretty bad. And sure, you could talk about some of the extra names that have been weighing him down. In fact, we've got a video coming out later today, hopefully, that will talk about one of these guys because his name has entered trade rumors. But for Juraj Slafkovsky to be included as the consolation prize, say, hey, we need to get Dubois, I'd be willing to trade Juraj freaking Slafkovsky in order to get it done. I mean, you gotta realize Slafkovsky this season is on pace for 31 points in 82 games played. He has a slightly worse point production metric than Dubois. He's got 2 fewer points in 3 more games, and a good chunk of Slafkovsky's production has come in the past few weeks. He is now a first-line player playing with Suzuki and Caulfield. And I'm not going to say that Juraj Slafkovsky is playing like a Connor Bedard, Jack Hughes, Matthews, Rasmus Dahlin first overall caliber guy, but I will say he looks a lot better now than he did a year ago, and the improvements have come in spades to the point that now it's kind of difficult for Canadiens fans who are watching Slafkovsky to believe and wholeheartedly say that they think he's a bad player. He's gotten a lot better, and he's very effective in that top 6 role. PLD, whether you're getting the Winnipeg Jets version of Dubois or the LA Kings version, I mean, that really changes the conversation because they're 2 completely different players. And now, with hindsight included, assuming that Dubois kind of took a little bit of a step back because now he's got the money, now he's got that security, now he's signed for the long term, this is the laziness factor coming out to play in a guy that really has exhibited this before. We bring this up every time we discuss PLD, but his QMJHL team, the one that he was drafted from, he quit on them, he quit on the Columbus Blue Jackets, he quit on the Winnipeg Jets. He wants to move around all the time, and now in LA, I mean, he's not playing well enough, if I would say, to justify an $8.5 million AAV salary. And, I mean, it doesn't really look like he's getting too much better. There are some limited times where he plays with other players and he actually gets a little bit better, but at the same time, right now, I mean, Slafkovsky has been so useful for the Canadiens that the idea of trading him away for PLD, with this version of PLD in our forefront, it just feels so terrible, which is why 1 year later, this trade idea that was tossed out there on BPM Sports Talk Radio is just so hilarious, which is why I wanted to talk about it here today. And, you know, I will say, at the end of the day, if this thing was from like a year ago, let's just say 1 year ago, then honestly I would understand it a lot more. Because if everybody believed that PLD would be the guy that PLD was last year consistently, like continual 60-70 point seasons, caliber guy, two-way presence, great passing, and a big physical force. Like, he was so effective last year that if you talked about the slumping Juraj Slafkovsky, it would have been more appropriate back then to say it. It's just with hindsight, you know, that's the killer. The fact that everything changed 1 year later, that Slafkovsky got so much better since then, and Dubois got so much worse. I don't think anybody would have expected Dubois to be this bad at this point in the season, especially after the haul that the LA Kings sent over to Winnipeg to get this trade done in the first place. I mean, the Winnipeg Jets are the best team in the NHL, or one of the best teams in the NHL, if not Vancouver, and Boston, some of these other top squads in there as well, like Colorado. Winnipeg is there now because of that Pierre-Luc Dubois trade, because Gabe Vilardi has been a beast, because Iafallo has been a beast, because they got rid of the cancer. Oh boy, that's harsh, I take that back. Because they got rid of the distractions that PLD brought. Nobody could have thought that he would have been this bad, but now with hindsight, we know he is. So 1 year later, after talking about Juraj Slafkovsky for Pierre-Luc Dubois, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section. How does this entire thing make you feel? Because I thought this was hilarious and I wanted to bring it up here on the channel. You can let me know your thoughts as well. The videos will be linked in the description, both the French and the English AI translated version. I hope you enjoyed this Juraj Slafkovsky, and bye.